Welcome to a special Patreon episode of Salsido Paranormal. This is going to be the first episode or a pilot episode for what I hope to be a new monthly series, a monthly episode series of shows I'm going to call Trick or Treat. So everyone is welcome to join me, to put in a request to join me on the stage here, and go from there. I just want to explain the idea of this show and what will be happening from now on if we keep on doing this. This is an idea of a good friend of the show and a guest that has been on before, Jay in New York, who suggested that I should do a show where it's just an open conversation about all things just paranormal and or food, basically just life in general, as long as we can keep things sort of positive and friendly and just have an interesting conversation and go from there. And so this is the first attempt at that. See how this works. I will always be here for these shows, and then anyone that wants to join me is welcome to raise your hand in the Discord stage chat area there, and we can go from there. So, this is. I've been wanting to do Patreon or content for a while. I had to stop for a while because of my eyes getting worse, but and I had to rearrange things and just sort of cut down on the number of shows I did, and then build back up again. And I was trying to figure out something to do, but I didn't want to add any more shows to my schedule that would require more research. So, but just for some, I guess, maybe background on myself. Also, I don't know. I see, Jen. Whenever you're ready, you're welcome to join me again, but no rush, and we can go from there.
Hey, James. How are you again? It's good to talk with you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for being here with me to try this out because, like I said, I'm nervous. So,
Don't be.
I try not to be, but it happens. So that's all happening here.
I will have to be kind of coming and going because I'm gonna move these. I got all these dogs, so I'll be moving them. But I'm gonna be hanging out. But it's only because if they start barking or freaking out, I'll probably pause up and move them around because they have what they do and everything. But
no problem at all.
Jay's idea about this was a good idea. I mean, it's always fun to talk about these sorts of things.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm making pork chops and mashed potatoes, but then I have a leftover sort of mac and cheese with breadcrumbs with chicken in it and from yesterday. But I'm going to throw in green beans and butter toast today.
Oh wow, that sounds good.
I'm working with that, but
yeah, I don't know. I've had mac and cheese with the breadcrumbs, and it's not one of my favorite things. I don't know why. I don't know if I just haven't had enough times to get used to it, or if I just don't like it. But I haven't had it with chicken in it either. So I need all the things together to actually like it, because it is weird how tastes are different. Everyone is so different in their tastes, what they like and they don't like.
It just adds like a crunchiness, like when you want to have a little bit of something like crunchy.
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me. Like I throw the panko breadcrumbs or any kind of bread, something crunchy. It's to add something crunchy. So I don't do it all the time.
Right.
Sometimes I do because it's kind of cool. If you have it, throw that on there and make it kind of spice it up a little bit. Kind of throw something different on the palate. Because it's got this crunchiness mixed with the creaminess. It's kind of nice. But it's all about too, like just how it feels in the mouth.
Right.
It's an all immersive thing, and it's like there's so much going on with that. And I worked in the food industry for a long time. I ran a bakery and I was a chef. So food is something, kind of cool, to think about. I just never thought about talking about it a lot, but tell you what, I talk about it quite a bit, I guess, now that I think about it. But
Yeah, I think it comes up in any kind of group of people after you talk long enough. I've noticed that, and when I'm not like listening to things for research for these shows, a lot of times I listen to uh, streams on Twitch of friends that do they play video games on Twitch, and so they'll be talking, and people in chat will be chatting there in the text chat, and it's so often food will just automatically come up after a while. If you're in a stream long enough, like half hour, whatever at the most, someone will mention some kind of food there, and then it's there. So, and it's happened a lot of times before over in the Trouble Minds Discord server there, when a bunch of us have been in the voice chat um, there, and we've been talking, and then just it eventually happens. So, Matt
it does.
says,
It always,
oops,
it
go ahead.
always
Sorry.
comes to the food. Oh no, we don't have
Yeah,
to worry about interrupting each other. We don't have to worry about that. I'll
that's
stop if
true.
you keep talking and so forth. But
No problem.
yeah, it does.
Um,
It comes down to the food. A lot of people feel sort of it comes down to that, right? Like I feel it's fun to talk about what everybody's eating. It's fun to think about something about it for
well,
sure.
and so many people. I mean, other than like the people that you're with at friend or family gatherings, you always look forward to some kind of good food there. And just looking at the chair here, Matt Tallis says we had fried chicken, chopped potatoes, and salad. That sounds good. I had I tonight. I didn't have anything to make that was I could really make, so I just had a Stouffer's lasagna, one of those things, and it was decent. But I do like mac and cheese. Getting back to mac and cheese, I do like mac and cheese or shells and cheese. I get the boxes of the shell shaped noodles and cheese. I'll make that with hot dogs. I'll put hot dogs in there as
I do the
well.
same thing. I love the shells and cheese so much.
Yes,
I like it more so than just the elbow macaroni. I
yes,
prefer it. I prefer it. You
yep.
know.
Same here.
And if I
Yeah.
make the elbow mac and cheese, I can make. I mean, any mac and cheese could be made to taste decent. But the other day, I think it was Mission Control. He was saying like, "Oh, now mac and cheese can go sideways." But I think if you, you can try. You have to add more moisture to it, more milk or a little bit of butter. Butter really kind of goes a long way. Butter is incredible. I mean, you can take that and fix anything, almost anything by putting butter into it. Like, to be honest.
It's funny. I used to try to make the elbow macaroni and cheese in the little boxes you would get, and I don't know. I don't know if I just didn't cook the noodles long enough, or I cooked them too long, but it never came out good that way. But once I got the shells and cheese, I don't know if it was just years of experience cooking noodles between when I tried the elbow and then when I tried the shells, but the shells came out fine. So I don't know if I just wasn't cooking the elbow macaroni. I did have actually a spaghetti pot or a pasta pot that apparently went bad. I don't know if it got burnt or the metal got worn out or something. And I had several pots of noodles that I cooked in there. They all turned out mushy. It was like the heat just went right through the bottom
Oh,
of the
yeah.
pot, and I had to get a new one. And once I got the new one, everything has been fine. So maybe I just need to try the elbows again. They get the individual boxes of the macaroni and cheese with the elbows and try that again, and maybe it'll actually work out now. I don't know.
I do prefer the shells and cheese. But like with pasta, I've heard that you take a single noodle if you're making like spaghetti,
Hmm.
and this came from a good friend of mine. You take the noodle and you throw it against a wall, and if it sticks to the wall, it's done. And like otherwise, like it's either I guess I don't know. There's something about throwing a noodle against a wall, apparently, that clarifies the doneness. I don't know, but which was kind of funny. But I think that we don't have to be too intellectual about this. It's kind of just a casual conversation. And elbow
Yeah.
macaroni is inferior to shells and cheese.
Well, it
I mean,
doesn't.
like,
The shell can hold the more of the sauce in it. That's the thing.
that's what it is.
It's the shape. It can hold sauce in it. Um,
I
it's. I
agree.
mean, I like them for just making like spaghetti too, or like pasta with tomato sauce. They can be good for that too. So,
Yes.
but yeah, yeah, but what I do is I usually, I imagine the trick with the throwing the one noodle against the wall works, but what I do is I just take one out or take two out. I have one of those slotted spoons. And I just dip it in there. I take out a couple and I try them that way, and that usually works pretty well. So, but
You're
yeah,
taking the easy way. You gotta throw a noodle against. I never throw a noodle against the wall either. I've only done it like twice, but
well,
I
but
was
then
like, "Oh, there's something to that."
it
You
might
know?
I might not be able to see it. That's the problem if I throw it against the wall, and
Right.
then it might get stuck there, and
Lost
that
it.
would not be good.
Lost the noodle.
It
Yeah.
would fall to the floor, and then I'd really be in trouble because eventually I'd have a pile of noodles on the floor. So then again, Logan would probably just go and play with them at that point. Then I'd find him. That's my
You
cat.
know,
For anyone who doesn't know.
and then you have mashed potatoes. People have different ways of
Mm.
doing that. Like, I don't know if you're a fan, but some people are very particular about it. Like I mean, I kind of like them any which way. It's some people, you peel the potato and then there's a whole way you handle them and then you blend them up. MJ is here. Hey,
Yes.
MJ.
Welcome to the show, MJ. Thank you for joining.
Welcome, MJ.
I don't know if you're talking, but we can't hear you just yet. But you can keep trying, and we'll let you know if we hear you. So we can go from there.
Oh, shoot. I wonder why it's not working for him. Is he trying to talk?
I don't
But,
see anything happening, so I don't know. Oh, he dropped out. Maybe he's going to reload. So that
okay.
happens sometimes. That does happen. Here, let me see here. Let
Let's
me
see.
look. We got another request. Okay, we'll try again. And no worries, everyone. Discord can be tricky sometimes. So.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Yep, you're fine.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. Actually, I woke up at 9:58 and decided to see what was going on Discord. So I didn't know this was going on.
Well, we
I have a
record every
recipe for
Saturday, usually.
Huh?
We usually record every Saturday around that time.
Oh, do you?
My main shows, our main shows. But then this is we're doing this once a month as of now, depending on the response and everything to it. So yeah, yep. So, but you're welcome here, and I'm glad you just decided to check everything out.
Well, I have a recipe for scrambled eggs.
Ooh.
Or it's a Japanese recipe, is what it is. And I saw it on TV and I ordered this rectangular, it's a small rectangular pan. And it's called egg roll, but it is actually rolled eggs. Okay. Now it's per 3 eggs. It's a tablespoon of sugar, tablespoon of sake, or I use white wine because I can't find sake, so I use white wine, tablespoon of water, and salt to taste. And you get all that mixed up together where it's nice and creamy yellow. That's what
That
you want to
sounds
do.
incredible. It already sounds incredible.
Well, in the little pan, you cook it like crepes. Okay. And most people get the non-stick. You can get the little pans non-stick. I got cast iron. And you put a little in there and you thin and it cooks most of the way and you roll it up and slide it back. You keep doing this repeatedly. Lay it out, let it cook a little bit, roll it up and slide it back until it's an egg roll. Okay.
Wow.
Now the recipe, you make 2 of them, so that's 6 eggs altogether, but 2 rolls. You put it on bread, and then you slice the bread into fourths. And they use sort of some fish sauce or clam sauce on it, which I never got into too much, but that's kind of a fun thing. what I did with it, I used to bake my own bread. So I have French toast, and I'd use it as an egg wash, the same recipe as an egg wash. And what I found is you do your French toast, you dip it in there and get it all covered up, and you put it in a pan, let it cook. And the most of the time, all I needed was butter because you already have sugar in there. So you really didn't need syrup at all if you didn't want it. You could,
Right.
but it also makes like a nice egg wash for French toast.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I noticed that French toast. If you make it right, you really don't need syrup all the time. I mean, I still put it on there because I can't help it. I mean, I can, but I choose not to help it, I guess. But yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I'll get French toast or I'll get pancakes once in a while at restaurants, and yeah, cinnamon for the French toast as well. Matt's house says. Yeah, and then the chat here looking Sweet says I like honey on my French toast. That's the
Ooh.
amazing
Yeah,
thing
like
about food. There's so many ways to do it. So go ahead, MJ.
oh yeah, French toast is like a potato. You can do anything with potatoes.
Yeah, true. Yep. I've never really made I don't really do a lot of mashed potatoes, but I do get them at restaurants here and there, and they can be different. Some places can do them well, other places not so much. But yeah, I do like pancakes a lot, and I like getting into terrible food for you, which is probably not even food. I remember when McDonald's came out with their McGriddle sandwiches
Yeah.
that had the it was like pancakes for the sandwich bun, and so bad but so good. But
That's funny.
that's the way with so much food. It seems like these days.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, but I thought it was a cool little recipe to have. And like Matt said, you can put cinnamon on it. I mean, there's so many little things you can do. Or a sprinkle honey on it, with a little butter or something like that. But it tastes really, really good. It really
Oh
does.
wow! In the chat here, Sweet says I've made French toast with some of my homemade banana bread.
Oh,
That sounds amazing. That's interesting. I never heard of that before. But I can imagine. I mean, yeah, I guess as long as it's good enough where it's not. Because I've had some banana breads before where it's like it falls apart easily. But as long as it's not doing that, then you could probably that'd be amazing. So
yeah.
yeah. I my family, my mom makes banana bread pretty. She's always made that pretty well, and that's I'm used to that. So but yeah, as far as what I've made recently, I do a lot of stuff in the crock pot because it's easier for me to just put everything in there and just let it go.
Yeah.
I just get whatever kind of meat is on sale, excuse me, and whatever vegetables are on sale that I like, and some kind of a saucy or what do you call it, broth, and I cook everything in there, or I'll do like barbecue sauce once in a while. And yeah, I do that a lot with just some kind of meat, and then mushrooms. A lot of times, I'll just do mushrooms, and it works out well. I get good 4 to 6 meals out of a whole crock pot full of stuff.
Yeah, I used to do crock pot a lot until I was kind of forced into going to food banks, and everything's just cans of sodium everywhere.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of
you get
that.
it. Oh God, it's so bad. It is so bad. Because I've got tons of cans of stuff to eat, but if I eat too much of it, I start tasting sodium.
Right.
You can't get away from it. It's like, and I don't want that. That's just a lot. So
Yeah.
I have to nitpick what I do, but we do get some vegetables, but it lasts maybe a week. You don't get them for the full month, kind of thing. So,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, when I
No,
was
vegetables and fruit are tricky because you have to get them when they're good, and then you have to use them right away.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean the recipe that MJ was talking about sounds incredible. I've actually, I mean, I would just, I enjoy going too far with some ingredients and making something that you haven't had by trying different ways of preparing it. And it's always rewarding. When it comes to like the food that is, and trying to make superior food out of something that seems kind of mediocre. For example, like there was a lady that I was working with for a little bit. I was home visits, checking up on her, and she was really into pork and beans, and she would like pork and beans with like ground beef and things mixed into it. And I never even thought about doing that, like about enhancing it in any way. And it was actually pretty good. I will say, James, adding mushrooms to things is for me like it like literally it lifts it so much. Because I like mushrooms. I like having like the can of mushrooms or fresh mushrooms. It elevates the dish so much. But some people don't like it, but I do. And like it's just wonderful. Add mushrooms to anything, a stew, whether it's eggs or anything else, and then the diversity of the dishes and how much you can work with something. Even the preparation of how it's the way that it's prepared makes a big difference. And I yes. So yeah, I feel that way about it.
yeah, no, I love
Well,
mushrooms.
mushrooms.
I know they can be. There's people that either like them a lot or don't like them, and I'm definitely one that likes them.
Yeah, you can take mushrooms and just cook the crap out of them. Like if you're cooking, see, what I sometimes I make homemade French fries. I'll take some potatoes and peel them out and then cut them up and make, and do prompt French fries out of them. And what I do is I'll caramelize some onions and put the mushrooms in with the onions while I'm trying to caramelize them, so they soak up the butter and whatever you're cooking them with and seasoning them with, and then just put that right on top of the French fries.
That sounds amazing. Also, Logan says hello. She's meowing, so sorry if you can hear.
She's probably like, I want to eat too. But like having mushrooms and onions together, oh my god, on anything, it's so incredible. And you add that to potatoes, especially just regular potatoes, and you an air fryer, and I wore it out because I loved to put like potatoes, or I cook a whole chicken in it until I burnt it out. But so incredible to add mushrooms and onions. Agreed.
Yeah. Looking at the chat here, Sweet says she got the idea for that homemade banana bread French toast. She got it from a restaurant in Chicago years ago. They made French toast out of different types of breads and cakes. So that does sound amazing. But yeah, the mushrooms, I don't know. I usually, because I don't do a lot of stuff on the stovetop because of my vision, I can't tell if it's done or not by looking at it, and I have no sense of smell, so I can't tell if it's done by smelling it. So crockpot is where I do a lot of stuff. But yeah, I mean, just putting potatoes and mushrooms and whatever else in there is just really easy. But yeah, I love all those things together. I I need to do more in the crock pot, really, but I just forget and I don't get all the things for it. But I've done boneless, skinless chicken in there. I've done pork, either pork roast or pork ribs in there. I've done beef roast in there. All those different things I've done in there, and it's really good. I wish I had a bigger one, but a bigger one probably wouldn't fit in my kitchen very well. So I have to get like 2 or maybe 3 pounds of meat at the most if I get anything, and then
yes.
fill the rest with veggies. And then even if I'm gonna do, I really try to go for more like 2 pounds because if I do 3 pounds, then hardly any veggies will fit in there. So it's tricky getting that right balance of stuff in there and not having it be too full.
When you're in
The
the
crock
crock pot,
Mhm.
how
is incredible.
do you put your meat in and then you put your vegetables in, and do you let the vegetables sweat down, or do you add a little water in the beginning and then add water later on, or do you put it all in at once?
I'll always add a little bit of water at least, and then and usually all I need for the whole thing is a little bit of water, because by the time I put in the meat first, and then I put in the water, and then usually after that I'll put in the vegetables, because they'll make the water rise themselves by displacing it, at least for it to be okay. And and I mean I've cooked I used to only cook vegetables for like half of the total time, but I've found, I mean, I've cooked them along with the meat for the entire time that I cook the meat, and they're fine. They're just soft, which I have no problem with. And
Oh yeah.
but it does. I think Matt's all in chat saying the crock pot has to have liquid, and I do agree. You have to have at least a little bit. Even when I make what I call barbecue pork or barbecue chicken, I put the barbecue sauce in there, but I put water in there too. So the barbecue sauce kind of gets diluted a little bit, but also that flavor still goes throughout everything. So it works out well that way.
Yeah, because sometimes what I do, I have a 7-quart crock pot,
Okay.
and I put a 10-pound turkey in it and just put the lid on it, no water, no nothing, and just let it cook. And because there's so much oil in the turkey, that's what, like, basically its liquid is. I don't really put much. I don't put any water in with it, but it works out fine. But when you pull it out of there, I mean, the meat's just falling off the bone, so you have to have some clampers and pull it out. And what I do is I took a pan and a tray that I use for cooling cookies, and I put the meat on top of that so the oil can drip down into the pan itself, so you get a lot of the oil off. But I sometimes do that, and what I like to do is put some carrots in with it. Chop them up, put some carrots in there, and by the time they cook, they start falling apart into the grease, so that's part of the gravy. That's what I feel I can do.
Nice. That sounds very good. Now, I want to throw something in here. I want to throw some salt and pepper in here.
Okay.
So, now, MJ, we were talking about alien abductions and things like that. What are your thoughts about James's story?
The needle to the eye. Ugh. Okay, that creeps me out. I find it interesting that they went to the eyes. They may have been trying to work on his eyes. I don't know.
Right.
But that's the only thing because you could see them, but it was a blur. So at that point, I feel like they were testing to see whatever they had done. And this is not the first time for you, by the way. But that's what it was like, the needle on, do that. And that's the only thing I could come up with, because you could see them, but it was on a blur, and other times you've seen them. So I don't think that was the first time for you. And I think they're checking on things, and I don't think it's the last time.
So then I wonder if, because someone else mentioned before, the fact that I had that experience, and then about, I don't know, 2 years ago now, I think it's around there, I had that whole string of sightings of blue light or blue lights in the sky.
Yeah.
That were telepathic. So I'm wondering if there's a connection there, or if they were the same, or if they're different ones, or what's going on there.
Well, I had an experience with a blue orb twice, actually. And I'm not sure it was the first one or not, but they were, I would say, pretty high up.
Right.
Because it took me, and I was seeing it visually while I'm awake. This is not a dream state.
Yeah.
When I talk about orbs, it's always in the waking state.
Right.
And it was to the northeast of my cottage, more to the east northeast. And I got called out on a Sunday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. And I was like, why am I out here? And I knew what was going on. I was like, looking. And I saw this blue orb with a white ring around it, so I could distinguish it from the sky.
Ah.
And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I had to shift up in consciousness because I was using my third eye and my own two eyes to see it. It took all that just to see it. And I'm, watching it like, nah, this is, I started, it's just a balloon floating by. And every time I said something, 3 balloons popped up all of a sudden, tied together, floating around, and they floated by it. Okay, it's not a balloon. And then I'm sitting there, and I said, "Oh, great! Here come those some patch of clouds in Phoenix, Arizona. Really, we have patch of clouds, right? Okay, show up." And I thought, great, the clouds are going to cover it. I'm going to lose it. So the clouds cover it, but it turned orange, so I could keep sight of it. And then the clouds turned away, and it went back to blue. Okay.
Huh.
And the feeling I got was they were coming from a distance. There was a higher spiritual contact or something about it. It was, I'm not going to say it was weaker, but I wasn't, I guess, up enough psychically or consciously enough to really grasp it that much. It had to be a little bit closer to us. Was sitting there, and that happened. I was like, okay. And it was slowly moving towards me. You could see it just sort of moving along, getting closer. I was like, okay. But it was more etheric. Okay. So I'm sitting there watching, and I felt like I was really having to like hold on to it with my mind, just get up there. But, oh, I'm going to lose it. If I look down, I look up, it's going to go away. I just know it. And all of a sudden I felt like somebody said, look down and look down and look up, it's going to be gone. Like, it's time to say goodbye. Right. I did it, and it was gone. So, and the other one was, I was in the same cottage, and it was, I don't know, probably 1993 this happened. That was 94, 93. And I'm sitting there on my bed, laying on my bed, because it was a efficiency, your bedroom, closet, kitchen, bathroom. That's all you had. So I'm laying on my bed, watching TV, just sitting there, and all of a sudden there was a window to the east, small window, paned window. It had a ficus tree that completely covered it. All right, completely covered it, and you couldn't see outside. You just walk up and it's just a tree. That's all you saw.
Right.
So here I am laying in bed. All of a sudden, this blue orb comes flying or come hovering through right past that window. You could see a black rectangular block where it came out of. It passed the window, and then there was a black rectangular block in the air, hanging there, and it went into that. Okay, and I'm looking to, just caught a corner of my eye on the left. I kind of turned like, what?
Yeah.
And it just went straight through. Not 10 seconds later, there was a helicopter hovering to the east of the building with his floodlight completely on my window. And you saw the shadows of the leaves and the branches, the trunk. The shadows of it coming into the, you could see that, but that's it. And he had that light on. He was up there for like 30 seconds or 40, maybe a minute, just hovering with his floodlight on my window. So my conclusion is they were chasing that thing across town.
Yeah.
But why he chose to come through my window or my apartment, at that time I was doing readings and stuff like that. So that may have been a connection. I don't know. But it came through my efficiency. My little apartment I was in, made sure that I saw it, and then the helicopter shows up.
Yeah, the timing on all these things is really weird how it works, because before I had my first sighting of that blue light that I saw several times, I had been talking with another friend of the show, Derek, the Night Stalker, STOCKER, for anyone that doesn't know. We were talking about doing a show about just the different ways that that aliens, whatever they are, might contact us, and it's just a show idea, and I don't claim to know anything, and so I had my mind on that topic a little while at the time, and I went out to get the mail. There was one early morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, and got outside my apartment and looked up, because I just felt like looking up, and I saw, there looks like a star out there. And I usually can't see stars very well, but I could see this one. And so I thought that's interesting. And I walked around my block to get to my mailbox. And as I was walking behind this tree to where I could not see the dot anymore, I was thinking, wouldn't that be amazing if that was more than just a star or a drone or a plane, or wouldn't it be amazing if that was something other? And I get out from behind the tree, and that light has turned from like a star color, whatever that is, like just a bright, I don't know, yellow, white, whatever. I don't even know what color stars are. I just know they're lights. It had changed to blue, and I felt a presence from it. That was the weirdest thing. I can write off lights all day that if I see them in the sky. I know all kinds of stuff that's out there. That's just man-made. That's whatever. And so it just stayed there, and I just was in shock. But I thought, well, I let's see what's happening here. So I sent out the thought of hello, and I got a response of hello back, but it was so fast that it didn't seem like a word. I almost missed it. It was so fast. And so I thanked them for being there and for showing themselves to me. And I did start to ask a few questions, who are you? Why are you here? That kind of stuff. And I left spaces in between. Didn't get any responses. And so I just got my mail and turned around and I was looking at it as I was getting the mail, and I got the mail out and closed the mailbox and thought, well, I can't stand out here all morning. So I started walking back home and said goodbye to it. And then I did something that I got in trouble for afterwards from a lot of friends, but I'll get there. I walked back to in front of my place again and stopped, and it was still there. And I said goodbye, and I said, well, as long as you are have no negative intent or ill will, you're welcome to come inside and visit me in my apartment. And then I walked inside, and that was the end of that experience for that night. But I saw it 6 more times, on different days, and it never came inside. It was always outside at night or early morning. But what it would do, a couple of times when I saw it out there, it would change color. It would go through like a rainbow of colors.
Okay.
And it would also go through, it would sort of pulse out and in, that kind of thing. But it would always return to the same shape of just that I don't know, dot or light in the sky, and that same color of blue. And then the last sighting I had was the most amazing because I saw 2 of them in the same area. They were actually in some clouds, and I just saw this light patch of blue in the clouds when I came outside again late at night to get the mail. And there was this light patch of blue in the clouds, and then there were these 2 bright blue lights moving around each other like in a circle up in the clouds. And I watched them as I was walking around the court to get the mail. And they were moving so fast at times it was hard to tell them apart. But eventually one either flew into the other or flew to where it had been at and then vanished, because 2 eventually became 1. And then the one that was left faded, and then that blue patch of light faded, and the clouds were just regular clouds. And that's the last time I've seen them. But it was such an amazing thing because I had this thought in my mind of doing these shows on this topic, and then all of a sudden I have these sightings, which I had never had before. Because I could normally, like I said, I normally can't see stars or planets in the sky. I can only see the moon if it's mostly full.
Yeah.
So, but there was a presence there. So yeah, these kinds of sightings are really amazing, and that's why I love doing these shows. So, thank you for being here to talk about these things too.
Well, I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you see the blue orbs clearly?
Yeah, as far as they were set. I mean, I think they were
not with whether your vision is. Did you see them clearly as if you had normal vision?
I don't know. I think so. It's hard. I think
Were
I
they
did
blurry?
because no, I mean they were just far, so it seemed like it was. I don't know. It seemed like it maybe could have been blurry, but that could have just been distance. I don't know.
But as far as you can tell, you may have seen them clearly. You saw
Yeah.
the round shape. Did you see a sharp edge or a blurry edge?
It was more blurry. Yeah, it was more blurry.
Okay, but you could see them. So what I'm
Yes.
getting at is it sounds like eye test.
Okay.
Every time you talk about this, it's always, and obviously you're very much about your sight because you have a little of it.
Right.
And something like this, the moon, you can see if it's full, okay, it illuminates a certain light. You're seeing these things and you can see them clearly. Other things, I don't think you can see as clearly. But
That's
specifically
correct.
these things,
That's correct. Yeah.
right.
Yep.
But these things you saw clear enough to know that they were blue orbs and they were round. You could see all of that. The edges may have been fuzzy, may have not have been fuzzy. That a distance, even for me, if it's like 60 miles away, but you can see the blue orb, or you can see a
Right.
planet 350,000 miles away, you can see it round, but the edges are going to be a little blurry. That's normal. That's why I'm asking that, because every time I hear you talk about it, I just hear eye test.
Okay, so here's a question for you then. I did the second to the last sighting I had a witness along with me. It was my mom, actually. And we had just gotten back to my place after a Thanksgiving holiday dinner at her place. And we pulled into my parking lot here in her car. And I got out, and I had a feeling like I was being watched. And so I turned and I looked, and that blue light was there in the sky in the same position it usually was.
Yeah.
And so I asked my mom to get out of the car and look. And she did see it. Now, she couldn't look at it for very long because it was up in the sky, and she has had neck and shoulder surgery. So looking up like that, she can't do that for very long without it hurting. But she did say she did see it. So was that an accident, do you think, or was that done to confirm that I was seeing something?
I'd say more along the lines of confirmation.
Okay.
And
That's
for
what
her
I
to
thought
see it.
as well. Yeah.
When you talk about it, you say, I saw it again. She saw it too. So there's no denial on it or ignoring or, oh, okay, you saw something, this, that. She saw it. So it's confirmation in that. And when you have, because I've had people around me that, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, and all of a sudden, here we go, we got a black triangle flying right over top of us. Now what do you think?
Right.
And they never open their mouths again. But it may be confirmation for her. Maybe she needed to see it. Maybe she needed something in her life to give her, not to give her something new, something different to sort of get energies going. Just something to think about to keep the flow going.
Yeah, that could be. Because my family knows what I do. They know about my podcast and everything. But I think my mom and some others are more skeptical of all the weird stuff I talk about than some others are. And so I think she's along those lines, even though she's had a couple of experiences like over her life. So 50, 60 years, let's say. But But yeah, I think and she couldn't deny what she saw. She tried to. It was kind of funny because she tried to write it off like, well, maybe it could be a plane or a drone or something, But she did not sound convinced, and I let it go because I was not going to bug her
Right.
about it. But I was thinking, okay, and I don't think so. But if it helps you, then whatever you need to think is fine. But yeah, she saw it, so it was
also,
really amazing.
the needle to the eye, they may also making adjustments to your eyes so you could see them. Did you see the blue orbs before or after the needle?
Oh, after. This was
Okay.
only a couple of years ago, and that was like over 10 years ago.
Then they could have been using the needle to adjust the backs of your eyes so you could see them.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's I never got any bad feelings from the blue lights that I saw at all. I mean, not a single thing. That's why I did mention to them, that you can stop by if you want to, and they did, but they always stopped by outside. They never came inside.
Yeah, they won't.
Yeah. So, but and of course, like I said, I got in trouble with a few friends over in Mike's server about that when I told them I did that, but it's okay. It worked out fine overall. So
How did you get in trouble with them?
everyone was just kind of joking and half joking about how I shouldn't have done that because of all the horror stories we hear about any kind of encounters, especially like in popular culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The whole trope of, oh, if you saw something, it's got to be evil, which we all know that's not the case automatically. So, but
Not all. No, it's.
yeah,
I think sometimes, I'll say mine were hateful at times, but it depends on how you perceive it. If
right,
because like I said, what I did was I was a victim for a long time. It's like, what is going on? And back in 1994, 95, it really got heavy. It was to the point where it's like, fine, I'll give in. I'll participate. And after that, it got a lot easier. I just kind of went along with the program and didn't get freaked out,
right,
because I think that's what people do, and it just makes it worse. You're not going to stop it.
yeah. I've
But
had a
when
couple of. Sorry, go ahead.
when you start going along with it, you actually start learning, and you can also start adjusting a little bit. Once that's done, that communication's there. It just seems to be there's a little bit more going on. They're not going to tell you what's going on. They're
Right.
just not going to divulge that. You can try to figure things out, but it just makes it it flows easier, so it's more comfortable in you.
Right. Yeah, I've only had a couple of encounters ever that I didn't like at all, like it where I felt negative, and I pushed back and somehow pushed whoever or whatever it was out or away from me.
Mhm.
But that's like 2 encounters out of, I don't know, dozens of experiences I've had total. So I don't really worry too much about that, because it was only a couple of times ever. So, but yeah, it's the blue lights, and it's amazing how often blue lights pop up in things
Yeah.
in other shows I've listened to as well. And then with your experience, and it's something that's it's there, and I never knew that until I had my experience, and then I started noticing it more when listening to all the other shows that I listened to, and started like, I don't know if they were probably there before the experiences with the blue lights. I just had no reason to notice them as much until after I had my own experiences, and then as just recognition, it's like, oh wait, okay, so,
Well,
but yeah,
some police departments went to using blue lights on their sirens, on their tops of their cars, and went to blue lights because blue lights aren't as threatening, and
mm,
they're not. They're like the red lights coming. You see all these red lights. You see the blue lights. They're more subdued,
right,
and you don't get as crazy with them. Red lights, oh my, what's going on, type of thing. But some of the cop cars, I think, for a while, were using blue lights instead of the red, so the color blue is more soothing. It's not as threatening. It's not threatening at all, actually. Red would be threatening,
right, yeah,
and the blue's not threatening.
yeah. That's I'll never forget. There was I heard about one. I forget now what show and what investigation, but some group of ghost hunters went to investigate this famous location, and they set up cameras and voice recorders, and they got this voice on one of the recorders after they set everything up, saying, turn that light off, and it was their infrared of their cameras that they were using, and it was someone basically saying, turn that off, that we don't like that light, which is amazing to me because it's just that's the whole idea of light being having different effects on different uh, people or entities in different levels of reality. I can totally understand that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So, But it's weird because then you have lights like a lot of the vehicles these days have those LED. I don't know if they're blue or what, but they're really bright lights.
Yeah, I know.
They are blue. And I think it's a different. It must be a different kind of blue because man, those things hurt.
Well, I was thinking about the lights because usually I saw the blue once, and then it was orange orbs. And I asked you about the orange orbs. It's like because that got to be a lot more frequent. And what I was told that they were listening devices
Okay.
is what they were. And I saw, I saw the blue orb, and I've talked about this before that back in 1994, the 2 weeks into January on a Sunday, I saw the blue orb, 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. And then 2 weeks later, the Sunday, or 2 weeks from that Sunday, it was a Sunday, and it was 2:30 p.m. But it was an orange orb, and it was directly north of my cottage, and I got called out again to go see it. And I could hold on to it much more easily. And then 2 weeks later is on a Sunday at 2:30 p.m. And I was furious. It's like, why are you bothering me? And I went flying out the front door. I was literally screaming at, the sky going, what do you want? This type of thing. And to the northwest, I saw a black orb. Now, I never lost sight of it because it was in our atmosphere. It wasn't coming from someplace else. It was here like a drone. And I'm sitting there. I started making fun of it. Oh, yeah, you're going to sit there and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, blah, blah, blah. You're not real. All of a sudden, it started moving around in little different directions. I could see the heat waves coming off of it. And I said, yeah, that's just because it's hot from the sun. Then they increased, and then they decreased. And then it started moving, and then it started just slowly floating to the southwest. And I never lost sight of it. I just sat there and watched and watched and watched and watched. I looked down, look up, there it was. So it was directly in our atmosphere. And I finally, years later, we go into a meditation, what were you about? What were you about? The black orb was it was for observation. But what it showed me was a bunch of buildings that had been demolished. And I could see like mannequins, like it was a store, mannequins in the rubble. And it would fly over to see, was that a human? No, it's not a human. It's, and it would sort of, so it was looking for humans or whatever it was doing, but it was observing wreckage. And I was like, really? Is that still going to happen? Type of thing. That's what it was doing. So all three of them, the orbs are for observation or communications of some sort. And I think that's why they can't directly come into your house. Right. Because they're not really physically there. It's like it's an energy consciousness coming to you, and they can come that far. Let's say they're not even in our atmosphere. They still have their own little place they're in, but they can show themselves up at the door, and you can meet them at the door. But that's as far as they can come, except for the blue orb that flew through my house. I don't know what that was about, but maybe it was looking for refuge. Who knows?
Yeah. When I had the encounters with the blue light, it was. I could always, once I had that first experience, I could always feel when it was there, and it was really weird. The black orb, or that whole idea of these black, almost like shadow, like I've had, I find stories from my shows all the time, and I've had more than a few accounts people have shared of online of seeing orbs that are like orbs of light, but they're black instead, or even seeing them where they're like they're black like a shadow or like ink, but they move along the floor in like a blob kind of form.
Yeah.
Or even through the air in that kind of form. And one I even found someone saying they could see one moving along their floor, and it went toward and into one of the power outlets in their home. And that to me was amazing.
Now, when you're seeing this, are they solid black or more etheric, like you can see through them?
These aren't me. These are from people I've found accounts of, but I've heard that it's just solid black, like they can't see through it at all. It just moves. Moves around or however it moves, and then it usually is there, and then it'll go away. So I really don't know what those are, but that's it's really amazing how that is possible, because that's the only thing I've heard about in the last like few years.
Yeah, I've had those.
Mm.
I had one fly across my ceiling, and it sort of was waving around and went out, out through the front window or at the top of the roof or the top of the ceiling.
Right.
Periodically, I see them. I had one on the floor zipping back and forth, and I just raised my feet up like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just sort of disappeared.
I had a shadow figure that I never saw it until it left, until it basically came and said like goodbye. I had a shadow that used to like to just stay in my bedroom closet, which I use my bedroom for storage anyway, so it doesn't bother me. But it would only be there at night. I would only sense it at night. It was like it was using that closet as like a resting spot or place. And then daytime I wouldn't sense it there. And it was there when I moved in here. It was like, it felt like it was already there, and it stayed here for several years. I don't even remember now what year it was that it left. But before it left, it actually came out one night while I was listening to some paranormal topic show or other, and I could see it. It was just a blur, like a person-sized blur of shadow of darkness, and it just stayed there for a while and then went back into the bedroom. It did this like 2 nights in a row. And then after that, I never sensed it in that room again. So I feel like it was saying goodbye somehow. Like it was doing that to say goodbye. And it never bothered me whenever I went in that room. I would always say out loud, I'm just coming in here to put this away or to get this out whenever I go in there at night. And it never bothered me, but I just always got the sense
How old were you?
This was around sometime between, I was, let me see, late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around there.
Did you have anything like that as a child?
No, nope. I had other things happen at other places when I was a kid, but no, this was all. Those were the only times I ever saw anything shadow-like were those 2 times here, and they were both here. And
well, apparently that was around for a little bit, because if you felt like it was saying goodbye.
Yeah, it was so funny because whenever I'd be in there or I'd go in that room, the sense I got was, I don't mean you any harm. Just leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. And it would only be in there at night, and then it'd be gone. And once it got to be daylight, it'd be gone. And once it got to be dark out, it'd be there again. And I do feel like the back wall of my bedroom closet, the main closet there, it either is or was some kind of a portal. There's like an energy field there I can just sense. And I think that's where it either came in and or left through.
I almost found it feels apologetic, like it was apologizing and saying goodbye, like it had to use that area for a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. It didn't mean any harm. I've had people say, "Oh, that doesn't sound good at all. That had to be evil." It's like, no, it didn't do anything bad at all. Never did anything even remotely. I never had intentions anywhere remotely bad or anything toward me, except just I just need the space for a while.
Yeah,
and, that was fine.
It was right in the room.
Yeah. So, but it is wild. It's but yeah, that's of all the things I've had experiences with it, I find it kind of ironic in a way that those are the only kind of shadow figure or shadow experiences I've ever had, is those 2.
Yeah. I just get the little black blobs every once in a while, kind of floating through. I always thought maybe that was animals.
Right.
I don't know if their spirits would be as big.
Yeah,
I had a dream about. I'm in this dream. I used to have a dog. He passed away cancer. It was really rough, but he passed away peacefully. And just the other night, I had a dream about. I was in this farmland, and I had this really cool little truck to drive, and I had a crotch rocket. I was riding it. My knees didn't hurt. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And then I had this truck for work. I don't have a job. I don't need a job. I mean, it'd be nice to have extra money, but I don't have a job. So I'm sitting there. Suddenly, I'm in this rescue center for animals. And the first one I saw was a kitchen. And my dog was underneath the table, the kitchen table, just sitting there. And he's wagging his tail. He came up and said hello. And I said hello. I was looking at this woman, older woman, like a farmer's wife kind of thing, a little heavy, hairy. But she's at the kitchen sink, had her apron on, and she's washing dishes and whatnot. It just looked like a farmhouse kitchen. Not expensive, but a working farm.
Right.
And she was there, and he went back under the table. He was cool. And then I turned around to this next room, and I saw all these little animals in there, but they're all kind of mangled. I thought, what the hell is going on here? And there was a goat in there, and there was this little kitten. It looked like it, got hit by a car or something, but it's walking around. And I realized these animals are dead. And this is like a rescue center for their souls, I'm assuming. And the goat was standing there, but he bit the little kitten and then went over and just grabbed his nostrils, trying to suffocate him and make him drop the kitten. He dropped the kitten. And I realized the goat was demonic. It was in there looking for souls. And so I just took him and, get out, this type of thing, and, disappeared. But and to me, that's the strangest dream to do. But apparently animals also have a place to rescue souls in case they get in trouble. They have the place to go, because the rooms are very square. I mean, it was very definite square. And I could see more animals in the back there, and the same thing had their little carriers and whatnot. And they were there, but I saw the carriers and I thought they need to be released, somehow. But they was there for protection for right now, I guess. I don't know. But I was looking at all that, and I'm thinking that they had, maybe the animal souls need rescues also from, negative energies out there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it seems. I know I've had experiences here with the ghost cat before, and it's not, as far as I can tell, it's not a cat from my family at all. It's not like my former cat that had passed away. It's a totally different cat. And I saw it once in a dream and saw it once in the middle of the day while I was awake. And so yeah, it's they're animals definitely have consciousness. I mean, I figured that even before I had the experiences with the ghost cat. Funny enough, I had one of the experiences with the ghost cat I had in the middle of the day, in between two of the sightings of that blue light, where I had the sighting of the blue light at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then later that same day, I was sitting in my chair here, and I had fallen I was dozing, listening to something or other, and I have a TV on a table next to me, and I heard what sounded like a cat just walking around in back of the TV. Now, I have Logan, my cat, but I didn't hear a cat jump onto the table and then start walking around. I just heard a cat walking around in back of the TV. There was no sound of it getting onto the table. And I had my blindfold on my eyes because I was resting my eyes. But I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, that cat did not jump on the table. And I had this feeling like this is the ghost cat. So I lifted up the blindfold and I leaned forward to look around the back of the table. And as soon as I got to where I could see around that TV, everything stopped. Footsteps stopped, and there was no cat there visibly. But it was like it was saying hello, and it was so funny because it was right in between. That next morning, around 2 or 3 in the morning, again, I saw that the blue light up in the sky. So I don't know if it was just like visiting because, hey, something's going on over at James's place. I'm gonna just hang out here for a bit, or what?
Party at James.
Apparently, that 24-hour period, it was there's something going on around here. But I mean, I do live right behind a nursing home, basically, and so I don't know if you heard me tell a story about how I just heard the voices of an older couple, a man and a woman, pass through my apartment from the front to the back, heading toward that nursing home. Yeah, and it was like they had no idea I was here, or no idea this was an apartment. And I didn't hear any footsteps. and I didn't see them. I just could track them as they moved through my apartment from the front through the back and out the back. And it was like they were having a pleasant conversation, just taking a walk to head over to this nursing home. And they had no idea I was here.
Yeah.
It was so wild. So
Yeah, I haven't. It's been a while since I've heard anything in my house at all or anything, which is nice.
I get random bumps and bangs here and there that don't track with like the furnace or the plumbing or anything like that. I get them. I used to have my kitchen cupboard doors. I would hear one open and close slightly, and sometimes Logan will get in there and look around. But it's not always her, because there was one time years ago I heard that sound and I was getting ready to tell her to stop, to get out of there. And as I was turning my head to do that, I noticed she was laying on the floor right next to me. So it wasn't her, or at least not her physical self anyway. So.
Yeah, I had a little thing years ago when I first got the property. After Mom passed away, I was walking down the back of the property and I could hear this cat meowing. So I'm down there and I lost the cat and I thought, oh, maybe it's Monaco. I'm down there looking and I could keep hearing the cat. And I got closer and I could hear a loud, get the meow was getting louder and louder. And I'm looking around and I just got to this area and it sort of faded out.
Mm.
And that's all it was. It just faded out. So at that point, I'm going to say it was a ghost cat. But I could hear the meow.
Yeah.
And that's probably about the only that I can remember, the only experience I've had with animals coming around. I was in the kitchen a few years ago. I feel something rubbing my leg, and I looked down. There's no cat, so it could have been
I've had that too, a couple times.
But yeah, the whole meow thing was just. I was looking. I was so desperate. I got to see the cat. Where's the cat? No cat.
Well, I had the time I saw the cat in the middle of the day. I thought it was Logan. I just thought it was the sun coming down on her, making her look like all white. I thought it was just sunlight. I thought, oh, there's Logan at the window, because she does that. She'll sit in front of the window. I have a window that goes from the floor to the ceiling right next to my front door, which so she loves that. And I was getting home from doing errands one day, and I open my door. I get to my door and I see her there, and this cat walks behind my front door, which no problem. Cats do that. And I open the door and I get in and I close it pretty fast so that in case Logan decides to try to run out, she can't do that. There's no cat behind the door. And so I quickly close the door. I close the door as fast as I can, go in, and Logan is asleep on the rocking chair across the other end of the apartment. And that's when I stopped. I was like, wait, that cat it wasn't sunlight. That cat was all white. And Logan is more dark with white mixed.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, so that cat was watching me come home for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And
I forgot about my ghost dog.
Mm.
It was out when I was living in Phoenix. It was Margaret T. Hance Park. They nicknamed it Deck Park. Margaret T. Hance Park. And I'd been out there with my dog going, out there. And I had him with me and I'm walking around. And it was two different times I saw him. It was in the evening. And I'm walking along and I see this black dog, probably mixed. It was black, longer hair, curled, tail curled up. So it might have been part lab, part something else. And it was next to this woman. It looked like she was walking two dogs. I'm like, oh, she's got, and I knew the woman. I was like, wait a minute. And the dog passed her and disappeared. But there was a leash coming from her hand to the dog.
Oh, wow.
So I went over and I asked her, did you have a dog one time that was black? It looked like this? No. Okay. Now that was let me see. That was, I think, in the morning. It was in the morning. And because a bunch of us would get out there and we didn't like going to the dog parks because it's fenced in and people bring dogs in there that were kind of unruly or aggressive. So we had our own little thing going on. Yeah. So we're not supposed to take them off the leash, but in the middle of Deck Park, it's probably a good half mile or a mile, 3/4 of a mile long. So we get on the west side, and a bunch of us get together and turn our dogs loose, and they stayed right there. They didn't go anywhere. And just let them run around. Right in the morning, I saw her, and then I went home. I came back in the evening, and it was just coming into the west side of just west of the central overpass, coming up in there, and I saw the same black dog. He was going from person to person, and when he got close to the person, you could see a leash coming from that person to the dog.
Oh, wow.
So I think maybe he was looking for his owner or a connection with something, but he was out there looking around.
Yeah. That's yeah, that makes sense. I mean, animals are they're a lot more aware than I think we figure a lot of people figure they are. I just it's my favorite experience with Logan is the one time she defended me from some other being in one of my dreams, where I had a dream about being in my kitchen looking for something in one of the cupboards, and I could hear sounds over on my couch bed where I was sleeping at the time, like something moving around, and I thought it was just Logan, and I asked her to stop running around, or I had said something to her about that, and I finally look over there because I hear these sounds, and there's two identical versions of Logan sitting there staring at each other, and I could sense that one was Logan and one was someone else, and Logan was not happy that this other whatever else was there. And I woke up, and Logan was sitting there. This was when she was a kitten, so like 12, 13 years ago now. She was sitting there on the bed right next to me, looking right at me. And so I think she was protecting me from something.
In a dream.
In a dream, yeah.
Yeah, my cats, I haven't done it in a while. Maybe I don't need the protection as much anymore, but my dog, with the extraterrestrials, we use my dog, the symbology of my dog, to lure me into a building or into a situation. Because I chase after him, thinking, oh, they're going to hurt him. I go after him, and then they get me into a room of some sort. But when my cats are around, nothing ever happened. And I'm down to 11 cats. And they're indoor, outdoor. Summertime, they're outdoor all the time. They don't even come in to eat and stuff, or I feed them outside or whatnot. They like it out there. In the wintertime, they come in, and they would all be in a dream with me, all of them, and we're all running around together and just doing stuff and going here, going there. And I realized they protected me. They sort of fanned out around me, protected me. And I find that interesting. I don't know if a dog would do that or not, if they're a different type of spirit or level. But I think cats are more connected. But yeah, I remember that several times I'd just be out and they'd be around. But they're in the house a lot now, so I don't know if that's still the protection of them being around, just physically being around you, and that helps protect you.
Yeah, I wonder too about that all white ghost cat, if it's some kind of protection as well. Because I've noticed overall, I mean, that those couple of negative experiences I had, they happened before I ever saw that ghost cat. Yeah. And also before I ever had Logan. So that's I just realized that now. That's really that could be it. So because I've always had a connection to cats. I've always been more of a, I mean, not that I have any problem with other animals, but that, I think we all have our preferences or our tendencies or whatever you want to call it. Just things that we're closer to than other things. And I think animals are definitely something so I think that's just the way I am. I'm closer to cats. And
that's me. It's cats for me. It's like that mother, Dixie, got hit by a car a few months ago, about 2 months or 3 months ago. And, it's like the more the merrier. She had 5 kittens. I was happy.
Right.
It's just like, hey, more, come on in. But eventually things happen, whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt Saul says doppelganger shapeshifter, as far as my experience with that. Yeah, I don't know what the other one was. The other thing that was copying Logan's appearance in that dream. I don't know. I mean, nothing else happened after that, so it either left right away or Logan kept on doing her job and kept it away. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it may have been something trying to emulate Logan to get its way into the door, and he just kept it out of there.
Yeah, mimic. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she's good. It's funny because I watch videos online of cats and stuff like that, and some of them can they can do some crazy things, but overall, Logan is very well behaved, so I'm very lucky that way. But do your cats ever, going back to the food topic? Do your cats ever show interest in any human food? Because Logan did one time, but not much.
All the time. If I'm cooking, here we go.
Yeah.
Especially if it's chicken. I can't get away. And usually at this point in time, because the food pantry foods, they're not the highest quality.
Right.
I usually get a turkey, and what I do with it, 10-pound turkey, I'll like how I told you how I cook the turkey.
Right.
I'll get all the white meat out with the white meat I want, and I just take a big pan and put all the just get all the bones or whatever I can get out, just have the meat sitting there and just let them have at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it takes probably, I would say, a day and a half, and that turkey is gone.
Yeah.
It is gone. I don't have to open cans. I don't know dry food. Here you go. That's what you eat. And it's like, I think the last time I did it, the turkey was gone within a day. And you're talking white meat. I get some of it out there. I'm going to have some too. And I take most white meat, but you got the legs and all the other parts of it. And they just strip it. And it's not like they don't have food, but and I also, because it's canned, it's processed food, turkey's not processed.
Right.
So periodically they can have, basically fresh food. It's kind of get it in there once in a while.
Well, the only time Logan has ever really showed interest in food was one time I was chopping up some ground beef I had cooked, and she was interested in that, but she didn't get too close. She just sniffed at it. I think the problem is with her with getting too close to my food is when she was little. One time, I had a cup of water sitting on my table next to me, and it was one of the few times ever that I've had like an open cup, and she came over and stuck her little head in there, and she was a tiny kitten. And unfortunately, before I could stop it, it tipped over the cup. She tipped over the cup, and she got water splashed all over her.
Oh.
So I think that kind of like, she's like, I'm not having that happen again with any of your stuff, human. She's kind of cautious about that now.
Does she like tuna fish?
I tried to give it to her once, but she didn't seem to care for it. But also, that was from a can. So,
really?
Yeah, I tried it. Well, because there was a time when she had a urinary tract infection kind of thing. And so I had to give her, medicine for it, and the doctor suggested I get, tuna and then put it in there, and then get tuna and give it to her on its own first, and then and she did not. She wouldn't even take the tuna on its own. I don't know if it was just a bad brand of tuna, and it was just like overly processed, or if it was just because she never really had it. I don't even know why she. Or if she was psychic and she was like, "No, there's something that's going to happen here. I sense something coming, and I'm not having any part of it." Because getting her to eat that medicine, like I had to like get treats for her, I don't know, not solid treats, like wet treats, like wet, I don't know, paste or whatever, and like crush the pill, and then get it all wrapped up in the treat. To get her to even have it. So, but yeah, it's funny. She doesn't. She wasn't interested.
If I have tuna, I have to have 12 cans, one for me and one for all the. Because I open a tuna can, and it is like, and here they come. And if they're outside, they come running in.
Oh no!
And they're out in the yard somewhere, and I got a can of tuna. I'm opening it up, and you hear scratching on the front. What's going on? Here they come. It's like, great. Let me get the rest of them out. I get to eat one this week. They're bad.
Yeah, that's wild. But better hope they don't. I saw a video one time of a cat that wanted to get inside their home, and I guess they couldn't get in through the door. There was no like cat door or something like that. And they were looking in the window, and it was just a screen window, like a screen over the window, and they just jumped at the screen and like knocked the whole screen out of the window and onto the table, and like just jumped in their home, and made a huge mess because they just knocked the screen out of the window completely. So that was wild. But
Well, I have a cat story, but it's more of a it was in a dream, and I was working at this metaphysical bookstore doing readings, and the woman was practicing witchcraft, but it was for money witchcraft is what she was practicing, or to make doing money stuff. And of course, I'm clairvoyant, so I don't use anything but sight, visual. So I'm reading along, and stuff was going on, and I was getting readings once in a while, and people started coming in and whatnot. After about a month or 6 weeks, and I had left my stuff there on the table because I knew I was coming back the next day. Why take it? I never do that. I always take my stuff with me and set up when I get there. And so I left it there and came back the next day. That night, went home. And I was in this house, but it was an abandoned house. And it was, you have the window frames, but no windows, no doors, but you're inside this very vacant, bare room of a house. And I could see the woman standing outside looking in the window, but not at me. She was looking away from me. You could see her face, but she was looking by me.
Right.
And then I'm walking around like, looking at her, and I saw her natural colored hair because she liked to dye it red. And it was mousy brown. So I'm seeing her as she really is. Right. And then I'm standing in front of this wall, and I had this, it was an orange tabby male, and he was sitting there, and somebody had taken his legs and his legs and pinned him to the wall and gutted him. So his guts are hanging out, right? And I'm sitting there. Suddenly I look down, and I see my cat, 15 of them running around. I'm like, looking around, whether I'll run around. I looked up him, and it's like, oh. And I realized what was going on, and someone was trying to copycat the way I read, and they were trying to get in, like gutting. You're trying to get to the inside of it, like to the heart of it.
Right.
And that's what they were doing, trying to find that out, and it was her.
Yeah.
So, and the next day I ran in and just, got my stuff, and she owed me money. And I was like, I just looked around. I sat there for a minute, and I thought, I'm getting out, because she was looking at me like, I'm looking at her like, nah, honey. Yeah. And so I just packed up and left. She said, where are you going? I said, I gotta go. And I never went back.
Yeah.
But she was literally trying to hack into me psychically to find out how I read, because she used tarot cards. And she would sit there and lay them on the table and read the card, but stare at you in the face, waiting for a reaction to see whether she was right or not.
Yeah.
And she couldn't figure out. I'm just, going on reading, blah, blah, you got this, I'm seeing that, la, 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 la. And, one woman, I was reading her, and she tried to get up from the table. She was getting too uncomfortable because it was getting too accurate. She didn't like it.
Right.
So I'm reading whatnot. And she noticed that. So I think that was that's the day I left my stuff there.
Yeah.
But things happen, and that's how she read. So she really couldn't read. She was just waiting for your reaction. So that's what that dream was about. I went there the next day and I scraped myself up, and I had a black obsidian crystal ball, and I had plants out in front of my apartment. So I just put it in the dirt and just let it sit in the sun for about a week.
Yeah.
Clean that thing off.
Yeah, it's funny. I have sorry, yeah. I have a few crystals, and I've noticed, I think I mentioned this before on other shows, and probably on Mike's show, that there was a few years ago, where, I don't know, maybe more than that now, every night when I go to bed during this 1 week, I was just having the worst dreams. Didn't matter if I woke up and then went back to sleep again in the same night, just the worst dreams. And this one day I finally had this idea or this thought, because I had these crystals, but I never really did much with them. A couple were different kinds of quartz, and I forget, I think the other one is amethyst. I'm not sure. Anyway, I had this idea that if I put them near me, like right by me at night, I would be okay. And I don't know where I got that thought from. If I just sensed it, or if someone sent that to me, but I did that. I put them right by me, actually, right in a bag, like in a plastic bag, right under my pillow. And no more bad dreams like that. So there was someone or something trying to mess with me, and either someone or something else or my own self somehow figured out a solution, and I got those and put them right by me, and I still keep them on the table right next to my bed. And I've never had a week like that ever again since then.
Yeah, because you can empower your crystals to work for you.
Right.
Is what you do.
Yeah, I think
basically you program them for stuff to reflect.
I guess that must be what I did, because they're still right there, and that's like, I mean, once in a while I'll still have like one bad dream, but that's not the same as like a week, 5-6 days in a row.
Yeah.
That's something else going on there. I knew that at that point, but yeah, that's it's really I do love, they're really neat to look at too, and I do feel like it's amazing how they get dismissed so easily by out there. There's some people that just think there's nothing to any of that, but no, I can't do that, because I've had that experience where there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
So, but we've been on for quite a while here. I think maybe we should get going and at least turn off the recording anyway. So, and but thank you again, MJ, for joining me, and Jen as well. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you guys for being here. This is good.
We're going to do this on the first Saturday of every month, I'm thinking, from now on.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I think it was fun. I enjoyed
it. Yeah. So thank you all, and I will talk to you all next time on another Patreon episode of Salsido Paranormal. Everyone take care.
All right, James, you too. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Very fun. Thank you.
Thank you all.